1, full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed.
Yes, hello everybody, and welcome to another edition of Full Course Yellow in Pit Lane's weekly get-together, where we chat about all things motorsport and beyond. Yes, I am in the corporate headquarters of In Pit Lane here in the wilds beyond the suburban curtain here in Melbourne. You might notice a slightly different view tonight. In fact, I'm looking at a very different view now because we're using new software. And very noisy software as well, because also joining us in a second, when I add him to the screen, will be Mark Jones, who has just arrived on his bus in time. So I will just mute his mic while he sets up there, and we will catch up with the crew. So let's check who's with us today. We've got Peter Johnson is joining us from In Pit Lane, now our floor manager of many years and resident Formula One tragic. Also, we've got my long-time co-host, Craig Doc Latigo, and now joining us all the way from Queensland for his first time on our new streaming platform is Mark Jones. G'day, guys. How are we all?
Yeah, good evening, Brett. Great to see you, and good to be on holidays, getting a bit done. What about you guys?
Meltingly warm right at the moment. Sun going down isn't having a lot of effect here in Queensland at the moment. It feels like going to rain again at any second. But rain's good for undeveloped races.
Yes, it's been pretty hot here today. They're talking about storms for tomorrow and Sunday, which will be interesting. Out at Calder Park, they've got the annual Formula SAE competition, which of course we covered for many years here on In Pit Lane, and they're out at Calder Park, so it'll be interesting to see how they cope with if they get a lot of rain, because it's not the most friendly race surface in the world when it's wet, even the small area they're using, but they are using the other end of the track, not the top end where the drag racing takes part. So that will be interesting. Now let's see. I'm going to click a button that's come up here, and let's see if this pops up on screen. Yes, indeed, it does. G'day, Box. He is joining us on YouTube, and hoping that everyone is doing all right. We see what you did there. We see what you did there, Box. So there you go. So this is working. Yes, we are using some new. We are using some new software. So it's going to be a bit rough around the edges while we sort it out, because our original software that we've been using for the last couple of years, they got taken over by another company and doubled all their prices. So the streaming, the cost for this coming year was going to go up from about $250 up to about $520 something. So so obviously we're looking for cheaper alternatives. Okay, so let's talk about Formula One. First of all, let's go back to last weekend, and wanted to get Max Verstappen. I mean, he's wrapped up the title, but he certainly hasn't stopped his desire to win. He's won another one after Lando admittedly had some problems. Pete, what did you think of the race?
I thought it was good. It was good. It was a race of attrition, which was good. I can understand they used the penalty during qualifying or practice, where I think it was qualifying actually, where Max was accused of driving below the delta, and I think that's a rule that's not often used. It's a bit like no spitting in the concourse of Flinders Street Station. It's only used once in a blue moon.
Thank God.
But I could understand why he was a bit disgruntled. The penalty was there and was there to be used, but the others who did the same thing only got a reprimand. And I think that's again because there's been so much said about Max's driving and things. I think that was just a case of being seen to be doing something, and he got disadvantaged.
I think the thing also is the fact that they've just not been consistent at all. I mean, there was the difference between sort of Lewis Hamilton's jumped start, Oscar Piastri's jumped start, Lando Norris's jump. There's just no consistency across the board, and that's really frustrating the drivers. Apart from all the off track stuff that's going on with the president of the FIA, the award winning president of the FIA, he's won a he won a peace award for basically for his campaign, his work against online bullying, as he got online to say that Formula One drivers should just mind their own bloody business and basically just stick to racing rather than get involved in the world of the FIA. So that's
Well, that's not online bullying. That's in-person bullying.
well, I think there was a bit of both. I mean, it's hybrid. I mean, in the spirit of the FIA and their greenwashing credentials, it's a hybrid. It's hybrid bullying. So it's probably greener, cleaner, and more sustainable bullying than just a good old-fashioned going up to somebody and pushing them down the hill.
And I think too, these penalties are being handed out harshly because the current race director is sort of thinking, well, gee, what did the other race director get sacked for? And
I hadn't thought of that.
yeah.
Now, they are going through a bit of stuff at the moment. That's oh dear, that's almost the same subject, really, isn't it?
It seems to be. I mean, they're just
Maybe.
going through stuff left, right, and centre.
Allegedly.
The other worrying thing is that they've the one thing that the president wants to do is he's trying to get changed the regulations regarding the FIA ethics committee, basically to get rid of the FIA ethics committee. He's sort of saying we don't need an ethics committee. Just place all of the decisions of the ethics committee can easily be made by senior FIA officials like me.
Me.
Yes, and that's basically it. Because interesting, it was the FIA's ethics committee that was examining some of his behaviour earlier on. He's also got the fact that he's at this stage looks like he's president for the next term as well. Because at this stage, no one's put up their hands to run against him. Because I think everybody knows that it's a fait accompli that he's going to get up again because he's got the backing of all of the African countries. He's got the backing of most of of course, pretty much all the Middle Eastern countries, a lot of the South American countries, all the smaller countries around the world. Basically are saying, no, he's a wonderful chap. He's given us, he's done wonderful things for motorsport and motoring in our country. He's given us lots and lots and lots of money. Even though we don't have racetracks, we've got lots and lots of money for them. If we ever do get racetracks, we will have the money to run them and run them properly. So there you go. What a lovely man he is.
What is it about presidents and wanting to make themselves innocent?
Yeah,
No,
I think
that's
it's
not
like
the.
I think it's like
Maybe
the
that's
old
not the right word. Yeah.
Well,
I think it's just it's the old catch-22 thing. If you remember the famous Joseph Hellyer novel, which was do you want to join the? Why do you want to join the army, son? Well, I want to kill people, sir. Well, no, you can't. You're not suitable to join the army. Why do you want? I don't want to join the army. Why not? Because I'm a man of peace. You're perfect for the army.
I think, to Mark's point, it's not just presidents. I think it's premiers and of whatever persuasion, premiers and prime ministers.
It's management. It's management in general. I mean, the
Yeah,
sense
yeah.
of power, and we see it even you see it even at a local level, in terms of sometimes officialdom at various racetracks. I mean, who like to throw their weight around, and because it's the one time of the they spend a lot of them spend the week sort of working for bastard bosses, and then on the weekend they get a little bit of power, and it's like, well, right, I'm getting my own back now. I'm because I've heard this at times from clerks of course here in Victoria. It's like, I'm in charge. You'll do as I bloody say, whether you like it or not. So there you go. There you go. Paul Van Den Acker is with us once again. Tim Schenken and Hang not the only older senior officials no longer required at next. Well, see, that's another thing too. I mean, we've seen the huge turnaround at Motorsport Australia as well, in terms of people, coming and going. We've had sort of new people on. We had Sunil Vora, of course, the CEO. We had most recently Bruce Astbury, and we also had Lisa Crampton on. They're three new people that have joined, and there are other new people who have joined in at Motorsport Australia as well. So they've turned over a lot of people. I'm not sure, like in terms of certainly publicly, like what Tim has been saying is that, yeah, that his time was up. I mean, I don't know how old Tim would be now, but I mean, he'd have to be sort
I
of,
think he's mid-70s, I think.
he'd have to be, because I remember I was a kid when he was racing Ferraris in the old World Sports Car Championship. So he'd have to be at least sort of 12, 15 years older than me, and and I'm getting up to 64 next month. So yeah, so I don't know. So yeah, so if you find out any, but yes, there has been a lot of turnover.
81.
81. So there you go. So yeah, I think
September
he's probably,
43.
I think he's probably at a time when he's decided a bit like us on In Pit Lane. It's like it's a bit hard to keep this up every single week and every single year. So he's stepping aside, and someone else will come in. But yeah, interesting that if there's any actual pressure being applied by Motorsport Australia to more senior officials, but I think it's probably overdue in a way. I mean, you like the experience, you want to have the experience, but I do know that we've lost quite a few people in all sorts of areas from younger people who have got into their sort of started off in their even in their late teens and got into their 20s and early 30s and then just gone, I'm not going anywhere because there's a log jam at the top, and they're not stepping aside. They're hanging on in grim death until until you pry my dying fingers away from the position. I ain't moving. I'm
Bit
not
like
going
Formula One
anywhere.
drivers.
Well, some of them, yeah, and supercar drivers as well. So a bit of it's one of the reasons we like it. That's another reason for for changing the situation with the show on Channel 31. It's like at some stage we've been around forever, and there's a whole bunch of kids there who are saying that well we'd like to do something on Channel 31, but we can't get in because all these old farts are there. So it's time. You got to move aside. You got to at some stage. You got to say, okay, that's enough. Let's turn it over to the young people, and good, bad, or indifferent. Let's give them a go. But anyway, so apart from that,
Yes, Qatar. Yeah.
yes. So anyway, yeah. So apart from
So we had some great.
Mark?
Oh, I was just saying, we had some great downfield battles going on throughout the entire race at the Qatar Grand Prix. It was while Max was serene and supreme up front, the rest of the race was quite the fascinating collection of duels. And what do you call a duel with three people? A Clint Eastwood film. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, there was a lot of that going. There was a lot of really good racing going on, a lot of really good passing going on. And that was fascinating to watch. And we're getting increasingly that battle from 6th to 8th in the Constructors' Championship is getting increasingly fascinating. Alpine made a big jump a couple of races ago when they had a second and a third to jump into that 6th place, which they then lost a couple of races later, and it's all got closed back up again between...
You just want to start the conspiracy theorists again. Did you see the one today? Or probably it's been going all week. I only saw it today, but everyone's Esteban Ocon only bloody finished 20th, so that way the Haas team can get the extra bloody blah blah blah. So the conspiracy theorists are already
that was the one that hit today, wasn't it? That like that basically Esteban is holding back.
It's tanking. They call it tanking in any sport.
But he was told. He was told by Alpine, if you do that, we won't release you early for to Haas, so we won't release you for the postseason test to Haas.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. I mean, it's a big gamble.
Well,
I mean, to sort of take somebody out. Ocon has been obviously there, and now for the last race, they're obviously of the opinion that that Jack's going to do at least as well, if not better than Ocon has been doing, which seems a big ask considering it's going to be his his first major race. But it'll be interesting to see how he goes. The other reason that apparently Renault said, or Alpine said, they were very keen to get Jack in there early was the fact that next year, of course, the Australian Grand Prix is the opening round, and they were of the opinion that he will be under increasing pressure. I mean, basically to make his full-time Formula One debut. At his home track, they felt that it might be just a bit overwhelming, and that this was an opportunity to sort of get some actual race miles under his belt.
well, that's not wrong, is it? That's perfectly
Yeah.
good reasoning, and and I and from a lot of I guess Alpine as well kind of might have been thinking that we're out of there's no repercussions left to be had by not making this decision.
Yeah. Jared has pointed out saying Apex Hunters United or the driver's sheet should try and do some TV content. Even yes, they're very. When Doc and I were talking about this afternoon, yes, it's because it's just so easy to go. Boy, are they in for a shock if they actually try. Let me tell you, there is a massive difference between pointing a couple of cameras at a podcast, which is what we're essentially doing here, and doing a proper television show, which costs over $750,000 a year and requires about between 15 to 25 people every week to make it happen. So trust me, we know of what we're talking about.
Scott Pye does
yeah.
Scott Pye does have a production company though.
Oh yes, I did hear
What's he
that.
got?
Yeah, so he probably could if he's got a studio, like a proper studio. But there are production.
What's he
Look,
got,
I mean,
Pete?
Pete,
What's he got, Pete?
do you know what sort of stuff he's
To
got
what
in
extent
terms
has
of?
he got? What production companies he got? To what extent?
I don't know, but I know he's been heavily involved in the. I don't know if he still is, but he's in the past. He's been heavily involved in the producing of the supercars coverage and the extracurricular content for supercars.
Yeah, it's still very different from doing like doing a television show in a studio. I mean, yes, you can do it. I mean, like I said, there's been so many over the 28 years that we were doing it. There have been so many people who have come and gone. Oh, it looks like we've lost Mark. We've had so many people who have come and gone and think that they can do it, and the money just doesn't add up. I mean, as I said, like in terms of what it costs to put the show on every year, and we've done the actual figures, it's around $750,000 a year to actually do a show like In Pit Lane. If you were to do it sort of for 3
That's
seasons.
the monetary value, but Pete, and of course I don't need to tell you, Brett, but Pete, the resources, not monetary value as well though too, the resources that need to go into that, the experience that needs to go into that,
Well,
there's a lot of all the factors. There's so many factors. You just can't. It's not one of those things like you can. We were discussing this afternoon. You just can't throw money at this, or you can't throw infrastructure at this, or you can't throw just talent at that. You've got to be able to bring it all together. And Brett's built it up for 28 years, and it was obviously limited in different facets of it back in its early days due to obviously technology as well though too. But I mean, you've been on the floor most weeks, week after week for years, Pete, and you see what you have to do to improvise. Sometimes you have to with limited ways of you've got to so there's a lot of factors. And look, anyone as you said today, Brett, good luck to anyone, and you said again tonight, good luck to anyone who has a go at it. And there's plenty of people who've had a go and tried and failed, but we wish them all the best. And it's definitely not an easy thing to do. Your stars have got to align, and once you nail it, you've got to be able to keep doing it.
Yeah, as Jared's saying, drivers only is on 7 Plus. Once again, I mean, this is the new sort of like television thing. I mean, essentially, Drivers Plus is also what we're doing now. It's essentially it's radio with pictures. It's a podcast with cameras. It's not a full-on studio. It's not a proper studio show with like I mean, as I said, we've got six cameras, six manned cameras, plus two locked-off cameras in there. We've got that studio was worth over $7 million. Somebody's got to pay for all of that. We've got well, just on a good night, I mean, if every camera is manned and every position is filled, we've got about between 18 to 20 people who are required to put that program on. Now you pay those people even the minimum award wages, and you are looking over the course of the year, as I said, at around $700,000. So it's not a cheap option, and you've got to have the sponsors, and you've got to have the thing. And once again, Driver's Seat is produced by it's a supercars program. It's I see Blendline TV are putting up their hand and saying, "Hey, if you'd like, would you like to see us do a weekly, sort of general motorsport program?" They probably decided that, like it's some wag put up there. Yes, yeah, you could call it In Pit Lane, but they're sort of putting their hand up now, and they might have the resources to do it on a small scale because they do have sort of they do have equipment, and I don't know what access they've got to a proper studio. But if they've got a proper studio, and it doesn't cost that much, you could, I mean, if certainly not at the scale that we had. I mean, that's why we have bands in every week. We got a massive studio. It is officially the most advanced television studio in Australia. And it's just ask anybody, the people, it's regularly booked out by Channels 2, Channel 10, all the channels. Marvel used it for second unit stuff for some of their things. DC, when they were doing things like the Peacemaker series, like they did stuff as well. So I think can we get Mark back? There he is, he's back. So it's very... But anyway, let's get off of or talking television. That might be a new show for it's talking television. Let's talk motor racing again. So what about this weekend? I mean, Max did once again a great job, but obviously the focus is going to be on the constructors championship. Let's go around. Pete, we'll start with you because you're in the top corner. Who gets the boiled confection out of McLaren and Ferrari?
I actually think Ferrari, because McLaren's sort of gone off the boil a bit. So I actually think Ferrari.
Yeah, Ferrari have come on right. The interesting thing is we've got it in the ticker at the bottom. Ferrari were going to run a new floor last week, and they ran it briefly, and then they decided not to do it. But they've said they are definitely going to run it this weekend, and they've called it an experimental design. So at the last, when you've got major points on, I mean, it's a bit of a gamble to put something experimental on. I mean, it could pay off in spades for them, and win them millions and millions of dollars. But at the same time, it could backfire something terrible on them, and it all goes
in the past this season, other teams have run floors that are different from the floor they normally run, and they've got into trouble for it. So I find that a bit interesting.
Well, we really need to get a floor manager in to sort this out.
Well, we've got one, Pete.
You sound like the man for the job.
Yeah, you're the man for the job. You've got more experience as a floor manager than anybody
10, 9, 8.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not going to put the cards on the table for either. But it seems I watch a bit of the Thursday warm up on the Formula One coverage as ever on, whether it be Buxton or Hinchcliffe or any of the girls and boys, and Ruth's pretty been good these days. The girl Winters seems to be a great host, but they seem to glean across it. If you don't get too involved in their discussions on individual teams, they do elaborate to the fact that the track is suited to a particular team on the weekend based on the history last year and also the relevant data that's come up in the last few races and that what cars are tracked. So I'd like to. I think probably the jury might be out until basically almost Thursday. What's today? Well, today is Thursday. Tomorrow is the weekend warm up. We'll get it televised overnight. Just check it out because last weekend they're usually thereabouts on the money. But going along with what Pete said before, I don't think Carlos Sainz is in conspiracy theories or he has any bad blood, excuse the scarlet blood with him. He's going to go out there and have a lot of fun and just drive the Ferrari around for the last time. I think his bit of disappointment that he is leaving has sort of waned a little bit to a certain extent, and he's got high hopes with Mr. Vowles next year. However, I think he's going to go out there and have fun and throw that red thing down the track as fast as he possibly can. So
Well,
good luck to him.
Yeah, he's certainly got a lot to prove. I mean, like if you get
well,
out
the
there,
whole
it would make sense to sort of say, like, okay, you basically got rid of me. I mean, to get Lewis in, but like, I mean, imagine sort of if he could manage to snare a win, and it's not beyond the realm of possibility that he could do it.
Nope.
Now, if he managed to grab a win for his last race for Ferrari and say, thank you very much, I'll see you all next year at Williams. Bye for now.
Yeah, and I think everyone across the whole of the bloody earth right now reckons he's probably the hardest done by Formula One driver by a country mile in the last few years. It's just, yeah. Anyway.
Well, it's his last chance to have a go for a win for maybe a year or so, or maybe
You would think so,
or
yeah.
possibly. I mean, that's optimistic. Yeah, I mean, it's as likely that he might not be in the position to win again. So I see no reason why he wouldn't go for it. That there's no reason at all for no logical reason at all for him to hold back for any reason. So yeah,
I also wouldn't like to be. I wouldn't like to be the guy on the Ferrari pit wall to pull out the Carlos move over. Charles is faster than you. I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he's gonna take too much notice of that. What are you gonna do? Fire me?
I would
Fire me
love.
twice.
The biggest Cheshire cat smile is going to be next year when the Williams goes past the Ferrari at any stage in any race.
I think that's a big ask. I don't. Williams have certainly improved, but but I don't think they're.
Well, look what McLaren did in 12 months.
Even if they did that, there's friction with Charles Leclerc as well. So there'll be friction all around, I think, if there were things like that thrown around.
Let's face it. There's always friction at Ferrari. I mean, it wouldn't be Ferrari without friction. It's interesting they've come out today that the team have come out. Frederic Vasseur has come out and said, we're very confident in the decision we made to pick up Lewis Hamilton. We believe he's going to be fantastic for the team and for the brand, and we have no problems at all. That there's a bit of a thought that perhaps he's just going through the motions himself at the moment, or perhaps he's lost his edge. But Ferrari are saying no. We're very convinced that once he gets settled into the team and he gets used to the car, that he'll be very competitive and he'll be definitely fighting it out for the championship next year, because that's what they want. They would love him to break. They would love him to break that record in a Ferrari, to say that would just delight them no end. And he's probably, at best, he's got probably next year or perhaps the year after, but I'd say sort of next year is going to be his big chance, because
one of the most animated crosses Formula One TV does every now and again, because when I say animated, it's because of his body language, but when they flip across and get Toto Wolff going off his dial, sometimes it's quite amusing. And that's Toto. There's nothing wrong with it. I don't love him or hate him. I think he's a great guy. He's done the best he can for Mercedes for years. However, next year, if if Cha- if Charles goes past Lewis more times and vice versa, you could almost see the inside smiling of Toto. Or if George goes past Ferrari, no driver in particular, it's just going to be it's going to be so much fun with the drivers swapping over teams next year. I think there's going to be a bit of humorism, and in the first few races, especially when they are trying to find and settle in their order. And
Well,
I put one up for us. Go.
no, Bob, I'm just saying, letting people know that Box has put in his 20 cents worth Hamilton for the win last, and that wouldn't surprise me either. I mean, because I think the sort of the, I think there's a lot of loyalty, and a lot of, I think, gratitude on behalf of Lewis to Mercedes. And I think he'll be fairly, I think, like a lot of other people, but I think he will be very, very motivated that if the car is in any way, shape, or form suitable, he's certainly going to go out of his way to give them one last win and to sort of, take them out on a high as well. So it's got the potential to be a really good race. And of course, Max has got nothing to lose, as he showed the other night. He could have just tootled around. And
Brett, do you think Lewis will escalate his temper?
Well, who knows? We'll see what happens. The one thing about that sort of the Abu Dhabi track and all the rest of it is it's not a track where people are going to get in anybody's road or that sort of thing. Or it's
no, I mean next year.
Next
year, Brett. Do you reckon? Do you think Lewis will take it up another notch if he's not satisfied with the particular vehicle he's driving?
I think if they don't get it right, if they stuff around, he's not going to take it. He's not going to take it well. If Ferrari does Ferrari things, and it starts being sort of the motorsport equivalent of the Marx Brothers, which is what it's at various times.
We are going to stretch the F.
Yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me, but I think that's another reason for getting him. I think it goes with the territory. And incidentally, after what we said last week about like Dan Ricciardo for Cadillac, that's starting to get a bit of traction too. There's a few people in America who are saying, no, we think that's we've seen all these rumours about Daniel, and there are apparently some people, senior executives within General Motors, who are saying, we think this is a very good idea. At the moment, they're saying it's possibly between the two Australians, Daniel Ricciardo and Aussie Valtteri Bottas.
Don't forget, how's everyone's Japanese interpretation of swear words are going at the moment as well too?
Yeah, it won't be Yuki.
But my point is about the awesome, the awesome warmth that in the fire that's been going on the last day or two. Can imagine Yuki behind closed doors at the moment. Is anyone's Japanese interpretations of swearing any good at the moment?
He was never in the frame.
No,
I don't know why.
Oh, he said he has been.
Honda has always said when they go to Aston Martin, they want him. He was never in the frame for Red Bull.
Which is going to be a major problem, because they've got, if Honda really stick to their guns and say no, and they always have. They've always, no matter where they've been, they've always said we must have a Japanese driver for our team. There must be at least one Japanese driver, and at the moment it's Yuki, and he certainly performed, reasonably, pretty well. So,
he stayed on the record week after week sometimes. I want Sergio Perez's spot. Straight out. He goes, I want that Red Bull spot. I want it. So, despite, I know, on that.
I think it's out. I think it seems plainly obvious to me that Yuki Tsunoda is the bar by which Red Bull is measuring all of their drivers. Like, you've got to be, if you like, we don't seem to be that interested in the Red Bull don't seem to be that interested in Yuki, but they throw everybody else against him to prove whether they're to get to audition for the spot. So yeah, it seems to me that
Do
he's
you think
their
it's? Do you think,
benchmark.
so what's his detraction, MJ? What's his detraction? His immaturity.
Well, that's not exactly his. No, yeah, you're right. That's
Forte.
certainly something. I mean, he's been in Formula One for like, if he gets a seat next year, that'll be what, 5th or 6th season, and if he's still, if he still has, as I mentioned before, temper issues or self-involvement issues, that's certainly not going to help him. But by the same token, the team's got all the data. They've got, and he's been racing for RB or under its for 4 years now. They know they've got 4 years of data on how he races, how good or how not good he is. So they know I have to believe that they've got an intimate understanding of his capabilities, and they feel that he's not good enough.
Yeah, I think the thing that I've heard, like, that certainly has come out of that certainly come out of rumours from the team at Red Bull and RB has been that he's just very. We've seen him sort of lose his temper at times, and a lot of people just say, look, he's difficult. He's difficult to work with. He's a terrific guy when everything's going absolutely. Yeah, that's interesting. Now this is
Well,
interesting. I
it's
didn't
easy
know
to be a
this.
good guy in the good times.
I didn't know this. I got just some news that's come. The polls added up here, and I hadn't heard this. I don't know whether anybody else has heard this.
No, because
Having the Academy Championship basically taken off by the FIA deciding to run an extra race this weekend.
I heard that because
No, I hadn't heard it anywhere.
That's
she was
I
on
must
Sky,
add.
she was on Sky News saying you've won it and congratulations. Sky
well,
Sports.
yeah.
If that's true, I mean, I'm not sure what the situation. Perhaps Mark or somebody there.
Here it
or
is.
people
Here it is. I've got
Oh,
it on thing here. Yeah. Thanks for giving us the heads up, Knackers. Abu Pulling will need to win the F1 Academy title again due to the consequences of an extra race being added to this weekend's schedule. So it's not her fault. They've just adding a race to it. Blah blah blah. It's likely to win the So blah, 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 blah. Pulling initially was crowned champion last Saturday in Qatar, but when she finished second behind race winner and title rival Doreen Pin to take the 83-point lead with only 82 points remaining. However, the second Qatar race was cancelled due to extensive barrier repairs from a previous support category at the Lusail International Circuit. Pin was set to start on pole for this race and keeps her 2 bonus points for the pole as the final starting grid was published. On Monday, FIA F1 Academy announced an extra third race will take place in Abu Dhabi to make up for the cancellation in Qatar in order to have a 14-race season to give the drivers more competitive track time. So there you go. It's thanks, Snackers, for the heads up, but it didn't say. Yeah, but taken off is probably not the appropriate words. It's probably she still needs to achieve it because the race that got cancelled doesn't. Yeah, so she'll race again. Unfortunately, she's just in the set of circumstances in a DNF would probably wipe her out and drop her down the run. So
it would be cruel to have that situation to have it. But I mean, if it was a 14 race series, and what they're doing is just basically adding one more race on to make sure it's still a 14 race series, then it's unfortunate for her. They should have worked it out much earlier though. But I suppose there may well have been some problems in terms of
that might have been the case already in the circuit. It might have already been a plan B there. They just hadn't activated it yet because.
Well, if there was, they needed to tell people, like on the they needed to say,
the teams have got to suddenly pack up. Have got to get all their wares across to Abu Dhabi when they were set to go home
and dry out.
Yeah, I mean, Just an extra day in Qatar should fix that. But that's
I'm talking about
the
detoxing.
well, yeah, well, much the same thing, I imagine. You just step outside
Yes.
Yep.
the sunlight and you'll think, oh no,
Yep.
I don't want to do anything.
Hydrate a bit more.
Yeah, but it's just the adding a race after the season. Like
Well,
season's
I think
completed,
they were due.
and then it was not complete. And imagine if Dorian Parr does win the championship next time out.
But I think the thing was they were going to
then
have to. They were racing there anyway. That they were going to have two. It was going to be two races, and there weren't enough points to overhaul from two races to overhaul Abbey. Now it's going to be three races, and now there is enough points to overhaul Abbey. So so I mean the teams were there anyway, so I can see. But yeah, I think
well,
that
are we?
it should have been announced earlier. Like in the case of a cancelled race, it is the FIA, and it may be written down somewhere that it is in with the FIA's discretion to to schedule a replacement round at at a following track or a replacement race further down the track and announce it within X amount of days or something. So perhaps they sort of jumped the gun a little bit and sort of in terms of saying that hey, congratulations, you've won it. It should have been okay if they don't reschedule that second race that was cancelled for the next round at Abu Dhabi, then you've got it. But apart from that, you better get ready. Hopefully, she hasn't been celebrating too much. The good thing is, I mean, if she's in the Middle East, I mean, she's not going to be getting drunk or anything like that. In fact, being the fact that she's a woman, she's probably sitting alone in her hotel room or something, terrified to go out the door. So,
Um,
It's interesting. Liam Lawson, if we just get back to Liam Lawson, very similar excuses are coming out to what Daniel Ricciardo started using, like the tyres weren't set up properly, or this happened and that happened, and so it's very interesting that the same old excuses are coming out.
and I mean,
For,
he certainly hasn't performed any better in regard to like what's been going on with his comparison with Yuki. I mean, sort of I was surprised. I thought that Liam would do a hell of a lot better and he's probably done a little bit better than Daniel. I mean, he's picked up some points and he's done fairly well, but he's also been involved in quite a few on track incidents, and he's made a few drivers a bit angry. Now, whether that's a good or a bad thing, I don't know, but he's certainly up there. But there's certainly the rumour around. There was a Spanish paper yesterday, a major newspaper in Spain, basically put on the headline: Perez gone, Lawson in. So they certainly were of the opinion that the decision has definitely been made. Yes, SB. This might move us on to something else. Speaking of female racers, I see someone, Jamie Chadwick, will be concentrating on ELMS. Is the IndyCar route still an option? The reason she is contemplating, or that she will be concentrating on the European Le Mans Series, is the same reason that Logan Sargent is running this year's European Le Mans Series, and that is because of what was announced. What was announced today, and what was announced today, or what has been shown off, is the artist's impression of the Hyundai Genesis hypercar, which which is there, which we're going to sort of hopefully pop up in see. There it is. This is the artist's impression. Now the interesting thing is
very Ferrari.
I said that before on the show. I said it is that the back is very very Ferrari, isn't it? Like the side, like the glass house area, and when you turn around and see the front, I think the front looks really good as well. I think it's but of course these are just artist rendering. But certainly Pippo Durrani and Porsche driver, and I've forgotten his name now. I put the story on the on our Facebook page.
The Turkish guy.
No, long time Porsche Andre Lotterer.
Astra. Oh, Lotterer, yes.
Yeah. So he's
Who's a Lotterer, of course, has long experience in sports car racing as well, having been a
yes.
veteran of the Audi Le Mans campaign, and also prior to that, the Penske LMP2 operation as well, if memory serves.
Yeah, so Logan Sargent and Jamie Chadwick have been announced as possible drivers for, but they're going to do European Le Mans Series this year. So Logan Sargent had an IndyCar test, and looks like he might have decided that a long-term plan to race in either IMSA or the ELMS is looking a more likely, a more attractive proposition. Jamie Chadwick looking the same way, because they did announce today that that Durrani and Lotter will be the two drivers, the two main drivers, but the rest of the team will be made up of drivers to be confirmed. But at the moment, two of those drivers that they've said that they're going to evaluate over the course of this year's European Le Mans Series in LMP2 will be Logan Sargent and Jamie Chadwick. So, and I'm sure that once again for the branding and all the rest of it, I think they would. I think Hyundai would be and Genesis would be very very keen to have Jamie have someone like Jamie in the car. So
It's follows through actually a little bit because Hyundai have been pushing some of their touring car drivers into drives on in the NLS, the Nürburgring based endurance series. There's been several factory Hyundai cars in several different classes, and they've been pushing South Korean drivers in quite a few of those cars as well. So they certainly seem to be doing a bit of star searching. I'm not
Well,
quite
they might want to
sure
stay there
right
at the moment because South Korea is under martial law. So they
no,
might stay there at the moment, don't they?
it was for about 15 minutes or something. It was yeah, we are under martial law. No, we're not. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well,
But
yeah,
they
well,
might want
bearing in mind that they were under martial law right up until 1988. So it
Yes.
was there's some memories going on. It's certainly not forgotten from the it's not beyond the I'm not quite sure what I'm trying to say there, but no, it's still in the memory of. But yeah, you look at that front end, and it does look different from all the other LMP cars. There's a little bit of Acura slash Alpine. Those cars at the front end do look quite similar. The Honda and the Alpine, oh, the Acura and the Renault.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I do like that
um,
glasshouse area. I think that's very.
yeah,
That looks very good. So as we say, it is once again it is an
that's
artist's
prime.
impression, but
Yeah, I mean, there's also prime advertising space, so it'll be interesting if it stays that way.
well, yes, I would imagine that there it will be. It'd be interesting to see who does get on board in terms of sponsorship. But they've already said that they will be running in 2026. They will be running in the World Endurance Championship and definitely at Le Mans. And then from 2027 they will also move over to the IMSA North American Sports Car Championship. So they're going to run concurrently. The other news coming out of that particular scene is that one of the drivers involved in this week's Grand Prix, Kevin Magnussen, will return to sports car racing full time next year, driving the BMW GTP for BMW in at least in probably in WEC. They haven't announced it as yet whether it's WEC, IMSA, or a bit of both, but I would assume it'll be in WEC. So yeah, sports car
Two
racing
different
just
teams
gets
there, so
bigger
yeah,
and bigger.
yeah. The World WEC team run by W Racing Team or Team WRT.
WRT,
They
yeah.
use both names for the team, yeah. For which Valentino Rossi has been racing in GT3s at the same in the same races, and their North American is the Rahal Letterman team, if memory
Yeah,
serves.
Ray Hall Lindemann.
Yeah,
Ray Hall
yeah.
Lindemann Lanigan, yeah.
Well, yes, yeah, yeah. So yeah, they're So they're two completely different organisations there. I'm not quite sure that there's a great deal of crossover between them. I mean, I suppose BMW would be very keen to get them talking with each other more frequently. Um, yeah, no.
Yeah, so we will.
Tell you what, it might be interesting to on the subject of the sports car endurance races, if there's some like third or fourth seats in Cadillac LMPs next year, which could be interesting to see if any prospective future Cadillac Formula One drivers turn up as a co-driver in one of the V Series R's.
And as we said last week, Cadillac have confirmed that their intention is to continue racing. Now, the other interesting thing coming out of manufacturer in terms of motorsport today was the announcement that Toyota Gazoo Racing was going to announce their intention to withdraw from NHRA drag racing competition at the end of next season. And part of the deal in that is because of the fact that the car they're promoting, and particularly in funny car, the Supra will no longer be built after 2026, which of course is the year that they're actually going to start racing in the Australian Supercar Series. So,
they've got a new Celica coming, so I don't see immediately afterwards. So I don't see that as being a serious issue. And in supercars, they could just as easily switch the Supra over to the new Celica. It's rather interesting actually to see. It's almost like that. Then Toyota are aware that there isn't a market for both nameplates at the same time.
yeah, it also
Or
hits
like
the.
back in the day, they were bloody the same car, except
Well,
just a few
yeah,
little extra goodies. I mean, when they first released the Celica back in the '80s, the Supra was just another badge that they put on it, and maybe a couple of extra cosmetic things that were on it. But basically, they were exactly the same vehicle with just maybe some flares on it or something like that. So. It'll just evolve in years to come. As you said, the Sleek will keep going. Then we might do a limited editions, 1,000 Supras this year, 500 in Europe, 300 in America, 100 in Australia. Just like back when they could do a tribute and we'll do a homologated.
It's funny because I don't know whether we mentioned it last week, but I think came up at some stage. Is once again it's rumours at this stage, but the rumour is going around that next year in NASCAR competition, the Camaros will be called Cadillacs. So,
yeah, and just Cadillac by the same token, not
Cadillac,
any
yeah,
Cadillac model, just
just
Cadillac,
Cadillac. So
a Cadillac thing.
yeah, so it'll be the brand, and that's what we sort of said with supercars. Whether at some stage you get like the situation you had in Super GT with the Honda, sort of it's okay. This is like a prototype. This is like like this is the new era Falcon, or this is the new era Monaro, or something like that. We're just going to call it. It'll be a design exercise, from the company that will just be there to promote the brand. Ford, General Motors, Toyota, whatever, and it won't really have any resemblance
Just
with a real
before we
car
run
at
away,
all.
to answer SB's question over there, we obviously the 888 team has been, slowly easing off on their Merc stuff, especially with the Prince and the other stuff that's been going on. But yeah, the Corvette stuff, SB, as you're saying, it's the jury's out. I mean, we think obviously it's going to come to Australia, but it's just going to be a matter of who gets it first and whether it actually makes an appearance coming up next year or not. Nothing concrete yet, SB. And a quick before Macca's post runs away too. And we won't get onto it because it just needs mentioning though. Anyway, the HQ 4 hour up at Winton this weekend. That's good with some support from the XL. So otherwise we'll lose all our chat.
Yeah, let's go the Kenley 4 hour, the HQ 4 hour, or as per usual. There's a few sort of quote cameos. There's a few names heading up and doing both that and the and the XLs. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from Richard as to whether he was going up or not. I mean, because obviously he's just got back from Bathurst.
He's got
so that's a big
tonight.
He has got sunstroke tonight, so he's been out and about in the in the hot sun today, as indeed we were earlier today. But it was yeah. So
Yes,
the
we.
Get well soon, Richard.
yeah. So that's
Oh,
a
he's
big
just
thing
buggered,
this weekend.
buggered from Big Day, I think, Jonesy.
Also,
Just,
Also coming up this weekend, if you're anywhere around Melbourne and you want to have a look at and you're really fascinated in race car engineering, take the time to head out to Calder Park for this year's edition of Formula SAE, or as it's known around the rest of the world, Formula Student. Lots of innovation, lots of clever stuff. Perhaps not as much innovation as there used to be. It's become a bit like sort of Formula One now. They've discovered the optimal design and the optimal sort of chassis and engine design. But lots of all electric cars will be running as well, and they've dominated the past couple of years. We covered Formula SA. I think I look back. I found something from 2001. So I think from around sort of 2000, 2001, we did, whether it was the first or the second Formula SAE Australia, but we pretty much covered every Formula SAE up until a few years ago, just before COVID.
2020 was our last one, or was it 2019? I think we covered.
Yeah, I actually got Facebook sent me sort of like one of those, like here's what you were doing sort of 3 years ago, sort of thing, or 4 years ago. And it was like, wow, that was then, but and obviously it took a break because of COVID and all the rest of it, and then they come back. It is actually being, they haven't publicised it much, but it is being televised once again. Once again by Blendline. They got the gig. We got sort of moved aside, so that was the end of that. So unfortunately, we're not out covering it, but it is worth going to have a look. It's one of those things. I remember when they had it at Lang Lang at the Holden Proving Grounds years ago. Brock came out and was wandering around, and he was just so excited. He was actually on the phone he got on the phone immediately to Craig Lowndes and Jim Richards, because I was standing next to him because he was having a look at it, and he was saying, you've got to come down, you've got to have a look at this. This is amazing. You really have to look at what is happening here. This is unbelievable. Come on down. I don't know whether they did or not, but Brock absolutely adored it, because it really is, because the rules are so flexible. But I think that's part of the problem, is they've, for various safety reasons and cost reasons and all the rest of it, they have tightened down, so you don't see that really wild stuff anymore that you used to in some. There was always, once a year, there was always one particular university that would throw something totally out of left field. For years it was Edith Cowan University from Western Australia. They always turned up with a car that made you go, what the hell is that? And a lot of the stuff that they came up with was years and years ahead of sort of stuff. They had a yellow car one, which had basically a full under tray. It was at a time when we had diffusers and of course ground effects, but this had this was just an entire wing car, and it also had a twin chassis, a Lotus style twin chassis in it as well, which of course was banned in Formula One but very much legal in Formula SAE. So yeah, if you get the opportunity, it's usually free admission. Haven't heard anything different. So if you're looking for something to do, Saturday's probably the best day to go down, because you'll get the acceleration tests, you'll get the slalom, and then Sunday they have what's called the endurance races, which are just basically laps around a shortened circuit down at the bottom end of the Calder Park area, down near where they go onto the Thunderdome. But yeah,
just a tidbit I want to add. Just a tidbit I want to add too, Brett. I fully endorse that. Having spent many close to 40-degree days up at Winton with you, televising that stuff. Just a little bit, not quite as humidity as what Jonesy has to put up in Queensland, though. But we do have your humidity down here at the moment. Thanks for sending it down, Jonesy. Quick thing, just down the bottom there on the ticker. If anyone's, oh no, it is. I love your humidity. The historic Lowndes, that Tyrrell that Lowndesy's driving, is also going to be shared. His duties, he's also TQ. Mr. Tony Quinn is going to be getting in just as much as what Lowndesy is, and having a
it's his
in
car.
So good luck to both of them. Exactly.
Yeah. Once again, it's another one. It's another one, Dodgy, because I put historic in inverted commas. It's a replica. They're calling it a continuation car. which are allowed. But
Yeah.
they're a lot more flexible with this sort of thing in Europe than they are in Australia. And Australia's a bit too tight, and I think Europe's a bit too lax with the thing. The other thing that's coming up in Group one thing at Phillip Island, we're going to see the return of Greg Murphy's old Formula Holden. That's that's making a comeback, which will be.
The
Before we run
RT23.
before we run too late, quick, Mark Russell's put a couple of comments in. Well, thanks very much. I hope you enjoyed the Christmas party. And Mark, the quarter mile down Geelong was incredible. Check out last week's show, was our last one. Brett threw a great little tribute to the Geelong Revival. Always, we can't give as much dedicated, as much time as we want to, but we did spend the day down there again in the heat, but every minute was worth it.
It was hot. 36 it got to. It was pretty potent.
Brett's white rum and lager went down like an absolute treat at the end of it. So yeah, that's really good. Geelong is great. It's just got that its own unique atmosphere down there where things are very free spirited, safe as houses, but at the same time people are allowed to enjoy their motorsport. So yeah, and don't go running off to Singapore, Mark. Just stay here if you want that. Keep that weather over there.
Yeah, I'll go to Singapore if you like. I don't mind going to Singapore.
With a budget.
I'd love to go to Singapore. Steve Carter's saying, one of the things about this new platform is I've got control over my volume here. That's why I'm down sort of at regular levels, because I've got a full mixer here. But Doc and Mark and Pete, I don't think have got much control over their volume.
No, we've got nothing on our set. I'll have a look at our settings now because it's a new platform tonight. Let's have a look at the audio.
I couldn't find anything at all. StreamYard did have individual controls, but I can't find it at the moment. I can't find it on here. What I can find is, thank you, is bless you, and we will also say goodbye now because we've gone over the hour. So it looks like this platform has worked. Because unfortunately it looks like we're stuck with this just for cost reasons. Anymore. So until we see you next week, thanks for joining us. One thing that this program does do, which the other one didn't do, is it does stuff like this as we say thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week for the final edition of Full Course Yellow for 2024. So until we see you next week, thanks for joining us, everybody. Bye for now.